Hey guys, you've been beat to death with safety stuff. I want to talk to you a little bit about something here happened to us this week. Two things actually. One, okay, if you're out and about and a tree falls across the road and blocks you in, do you know what to do? Do you know how to clear the road to be able to get out safely? Second, obviously people talks about first aid kits and fire extinguisher and how important they are, and they really are. But knowing what to do if you ever come up on an accident is something I want to talk to you about. Come on here for a second. Let's sit down and let's have a little conversation. Guys, we had a unique situation. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often. But I wanted to talk to you guys about it because this is something that a lot of people don't know what to do or how to handle the situation. We were wheeling in the Rocky Mountains on vacation, and we were heading towards Tincup Pass, to give you kind of reference on where we were at. And we're going up through there. We got out of town, no cell service. And we were coming up on an accident. A guy on a motorcycle, and an enduro was going across the mountain, heading home, and was riding the gravel road or the mountain road. And he lost a bike and dropped it. Happens a lot when you ride motorcycles, especially off-road. I grew up doing it, but he got injured. There was no cell service to call EMS squad. In a situation like that, do you know what to do? If you do, awesome, man, I'm happy. If you don't, let's talk about that for a few minutes, because it can be life or death for someone. Because thank God there was a family there that was kind of talking to him, but in a motorcycle wreck or an off-road accident like that, concussions is a serious thing. Obviously, knowing how to do a tourniquet, how to keep them comfortable until squad and the professionals can show up.
It's also important to note that getting the information from them before squad shows up
is key.
If in the event that they were to lose consciousness or something of that sort, you can still pass that information along if needed.
Absolutely. That's what I was getting ready to touch on. I'm glad you brought it up. Asking them those questions, their name, their age, where they're from, where their pain is at, because people handle trauma differently. And, shock is a real deal. You don't know how your body's going to respond until it's there. And when you're on the side of the road or out in the middle of nowhere, getting that information can be critical. Two, having a way to reach out to EMS, squad, and fire department. There's a lot of devices out there that you can push a button and it's an emergency beacon. You can send text out and back with someone, and those are great services. But in a situation like this where time is critical, those aren't necessarily the best tools. If you have an iPhone, I don't know if you even know this or not, but if you have an iPhone, you can actually, as long as you have a clear view of the sky, you can send messages through it as well. So those are great tools to have in an emergency situation. But when minutes count, someone's hurt, injured. I'm not going to talk about the specifics of this situation, but he's obviously, his leg was hurt because he tried to catch his motorcycle. But
he was immobile on his own.
He was immobile, so he was not getting anywhere. So we got him to safety in case someone come through, and he was stable. We was asking questions. Once I got the questions that we needed to ask him to be able to pass on to the sheriff and squad for when they come here, when they showed up on scene, I then walked back to the Jeep and told my wife, which is behind the camera right now, call squad.
And I was able to call 911.
But there's only one reason why we were able to call squad, and that's because of Starlink.
Yep.
Guys, I was against all of this stuff for the longest time. Man, we're out and about. There's no reason why we need internet. There's no reason why we need cell service. That's what we try to get away from when we unplug and get away.
But in this case,
but in a situation like this, guys, it is life or death. That it can save a life. The Starlink worked flawlessly. My wife was able to call. They were asking her
what road, and I said, I don't know. We're from Ohio and we're in Colorado. We're on a dirt road. I was able to give them the city that we had recently passed through, but that essentially was it.
But she was able to also give them.
I was able to look up the coordinates on the Jeep and also our app for Gaia and give those coordinates to the dispatcher,
latitude, longitude,
who verified those coordinates with what they were getting from the ping on my phone. And the squad was there about 30, actually it was only about 30 minutes
absolutely,
that it took them to get a squad out to this gentleman and get him where he needed to be at the hospital. So it was very important that we had that feature. And there were a few people who passed along the trail, but they had no way to communicate either. And
they were going the wrong direction from even where the cell service was.
They were going the opposite direction of what the gentleman needed to go. And we really couldn't get him in a vehicle safely, or it just wasn't the best option. So in this case, Starlink definitely came out for the win.
Absolutely. I mean, this, thank God, this wasn't a life or death situation, but it's just an example of what could make the difference if it is life or death. So, I mean, I'm not telling everybody to go out and spend a bunch of money on a Starlink, but I want you to think about the importance of safety and thinking through your trips when you get out there. Okay, well, am I prepared if I run up on this? Am I prepared if a tree falls across the road? Am I prepared? And that's the biggest thing. I guess that's the Boy Scout in me, but are you prepared? Because, these are things that you really don't plan for when you go on big vacations or these trips. I mean, it's a possibility, especially if you've been doing this for a long time like we have. We've been riding dirt bikes, ATVs, four-wheel and full-size Jeeps and trucks for a really long time. So we've seen this stuff before and had to run onto it. But I wanted to do a video here real quick and kind of talk to you about the importance of the basics. If you're not CPR trained, go get CPR trained. It's minimal expense. It's good knowledge to have.
Some fire departments locally will do it for free. You just got to watch for their alerts.
Yep, and American Red Cross, they have courses. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get this training. But until you can, if you was to ever run up on that situation, I mean, if you don't feel comfortable, helping them as far as putting a tourniquet on, if you don't know what you're doing, sometimes you can do more damage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just if they're conscious, ask them questions. What's their name? What's their age? Where they're from? Where they're going? And those do you have any health other than what's going on here? Do you have any health concerns that the EMS squad needs to know about? Those are the basic questions that you can ask. And if you need to write them down or jot them in the notes in your phone so that you can remember them, do that. But try to keep them conscious, keep them talking, ask them questions, keep them alert. Because especially in an accident, concussions, people can come in and out. If they're in shock, they'll come in and out. That's different bodies, different people handle things differently. But those are things that you really should think about. And am I ready? Am I prepared? Because thankfully it doesn't happen hardly ever. This is a rare occasion, but this is just a prime example of being prepared, knowing how to reach out, how to use the emergency services on your phone, Starlink or whatever, Garmin Outreach, whatever.
Yeah, there's several options out there now.
There really is. I mean, thankfully so. But do you know how to use that properly? Because some of them, if you're depending on you pushing a button and them sending help coming, it could be a day or two before it gets out there. Because it has to send a signal, it has to be detected, then it'll get dispatched to whoever's in that closest that region, and then it'll filter through, and then they'll dispatch. So there's a lot of time in between from the time you push that button to the time someone's actually dispatched, to where a live system, like you actually making a phone call to 911, and it actually going through Starlink, it's instantaneous. So thankfully we were able to get, just with basic information, call 911, give them our coordinates, our latitude, longitude off our GPS. That give them enough information they could ping our phone, know exactly where we're at on the mountain, and they could send help.
And they did.
And they did, and thankfully so. So
they did a great job.
And they did a great job. We were able to help because, the guy, one cardinal mistake he made is he's riding alone. So he had nobody to help him. Two, I was able to help them get the motorcycle back to town. So
change of events.
And safety, and he didn't have to worry about it because it's going to be a day or two before a gentleman's probably going to be riding. But we're thankful we were there at the right place. I believe God puts us in the places at the right time, and with my background and Chrissy's background and our experience with off-roading, I believe that there was a reason why we got delayed and we drove across that mountain at that time of that day. So guys, I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, let me know. If you've run into something like this before, put it in the comments. I love to hear about it.
Something else that would be good to remind people, we do get hammered on when we're out on the trails: first aid kit, fire extinguishers. But how often do you check your first aid kit and your fire extinguisher?
Yeah.
Your fire extinguishers, pins get pulled, they're expired, they need checked every now and then, depending on what.
How accessible is it?
Yes, how accessible is it? Can you get it in a matter of seconds? And if you need it for a fire, your first aid kit, is it buried under a seat somewhere? And does it have something other than just Band-Aids in it? Because you want to be not overly prepared, but you want to be semi-prepared for some good basic first aid, and in the event you need it. And those first aid classes, they usually go over a lot of that with you.
Absolutely.
Chad and I both have done many first aid and CPR classes.
And we're not trainers, guys, so please don't misunderstand us.
We are not trying to train you. We are recommending that you go get it done by a professional.
Absolutely.
100%. But these are just some experiences we've had and thought maybe would be something to bring to your attention, some food for thought.
And if emergency does arrive, how accessible is your equipment? Your fire extinguisher, first aid kit.
And make sure they're not out of date.
And make sure they're not out of date. Again, practice getting them in and out. It's just practice makes perfect. Like I said, it's one of those things that you hope you never need, but you need to know how to use the stuff.
If you do, you want to make it as easy as possible.
Absolutely, but consult a professional. Get the training. It's a win-win situation. Hopefully, you'll never need the training for yourself, but you never know when you're going to come up on someone that is desperate for help from a knowledgeable person. So, guys, I hope this helps. If you like this content, like and subscribe, share. If you know anybody else that can find value in this content, let me know about your experiences. If you know any great online programs, or if you know any programs that we can refer people to for first aid training, put them in the links, put them in the comments below.
Absolutely.
And we might create another video here and kind of go into those links and those different things, and maybe hook up with our local fire department and kind of maybe do a video like that. So let us know your thoughts. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you. I hope this kind of makes you think about safety in a different aspect other than just, you got to have a first aid and fire extinguisher. We all get beat to death with that.
We do.
This is something that's happened. I felt in my heart that I really needed to talk about this and have a conversation with you guys about this, because you never know when you're going to need something like this. So hopefully see you on the trails, guys. Happy wheeling, and get out there and explore nature.